Now let's talk about the latest trust and performance ratings of top officials in government with Octa Research Fellow Dr. Guido David. Sir, magandang hapon and welcome back to to Storycon.
Yes,
Hi, Professor.
magandang hapon.
Hi, Prof.
And Ami and Patrick and
Yes.
Ronald. So, long time.
Okay.
Muntik
Prof,
sabihin the chief.
Prof, let's jump right into the results of the survey, which shows that double-digit drop si Sara Duterte. And why is this significant?
Well, it's significant. We're seeing a decrease in other top government officials. I think the friction between among the top government officials is causing a decrease in trust and performance in these candidates. In the officials. So I think this is what we're seeing. We didn't ask them kung ano yung reason why they chose this answer, pero this is what we're seeing. And speculatively, yun nga, we think it's based on the friction that's being generated.
When you say friction, Prof, friction between
The two families?
the two families, ganun ba yun?
Yeah, definitely. Ed.
Pero, Prof, medyo major yung pagbaba ni Vice President Sara, no? 15% sa tawag dito?
Luzon,
Sa
Visayas?
Luzon, sa Balance Luzon, negative 11. At sa Balance Visayas, negative 15. Tapos sa NCR, negative 3. No? Medyo significant yung pagbaba na yan. No? Hindi lang yan incremental na pagbaba. Medyo major. Anong tingin nyo yung dahilan? Bakit ganun ka-major, Prof?
Well, you're right. Hindi siya incremental. Although sa Mindanao, she still retains a lot of the trust and performance. But in other areas, I think what I mentioned kanina suggests that the friction is causing these. And yung support niya in other areas like Balance Luzon, we know naman kung kaninong baluarte yung Balance Luzon, at least the northern part of Luzon. And it's probably affecting her numbers there. In the same way na vice versa naman, yung trust and performance ng ibang government officials bumababa naman sa Mindanao. So it's kind of becoming regional in a way.
Pero Prof, yung Visayas, bailiwick ni Vice President dati yan eh. Yung Visayas, no? Lalo na, nagsesebuano siya, nag-iilonggo siya. No?
Well, that's true. But yun nga, I think at some point, some of the yung mga respondents natin are kind of choosing sides na rin in a way. Hindi naman necessarily choosing where they belong, but more of parang it's affecting the responses in terms of the trust and performance nila dito sa ating top government officials, particularly dito sa Vice President.
Professor, magaling ka sa projection ng trends, ano? You think this is irreversible? Kasi mukhang pababa ng pababa yung nila eh. Pareho sila, and are they bringing down each other? Yung away nilang yan. You think it's irreversible now, going into, siguro 2025 muna?
Yes, Ami, and you're talking about projections. Incidentally,
Yes.
naalala ko tumataas yung COVID cases natin yet. So,
Yes.
in terms of,
Oo nga.
but maybe we'll talk about that another time. We don't have
Yes.
the numbers.
Oo.
But as far
Yeah.
as political preferences, yung projections are different because the numbers are actually reversible. Like when sabihin natin, let's give a scenario na nagkabati sila, the friction is gone. There's more harmony between top government officials.
Unity.
Then I think that will help their numbers get back to where they once before. Kasi when we started our surveys in 2022 after they won the elections, they were still enjoying mga 80 to 90%
Yes.
trust and performance. And now it's down to the 60s. So definitely, it's hurting them. I think continued friction will not help them. That's what I see in terms of sub projections. I'm not saying that it will necessarily decrease, but it could still go down. That's a possibility, but I don't think it's helping them by having continued back and forth and friction. I think the Filipinos just want to focus on the matters that are important to them, which are yung economy, yung
Prices.
health and other things. Yes, prices of basic goods.
Pero sir, how do these numbers look when you look at the historical data? Of course, Octa is relatively new. If I remember right, in 2016 wala pa huwata kayo eh, and the same in 2010. But if you look at the historical data, how do these numbers compare coming to the first 1/3 of President and Vice President's term?
Dagdag sa tanong ni Ed, Prof, paano in most surveys nitong nakaraang 2 taon, mas malaki usually ang pagbaba ni President Bongbong. Parang ito yung first time na nakita ko na mas malaki yung pagbaba
ng Vice President.
ni Vice President Sara kesa kay Bongbong. Bakit? Usually kasi mas mataas ang presidente dahil siya yung commander-in-chief eh. Lahat sa kanya sinisisi, di ba? Inflation,
Mas mataas ang pagbaba.
wages, etc. Mas mataas yung pagbaba ng presidente. But dito, for the first time, no? Unless mali ako, for the first time, mas malaki yung binaba ng Vice President. Sa lahat ng surveys, hindi lang sa Octa.
Yeah. We can't really, I can't really speak for other survey results. So, mahirap mag-compare. But I can say at least na the numbers of the President and Vice President are roughly comparable kasi hindi naman malaking difference nila eh. And the margin of error is plus minus 3%. So, technically, you can think of it as being statistically tight naman sila. But we're looking at the difference, the decline in numbers. And you're right. So far, we're seeing a bigger decrease. And I'm not sure, how we can explain that without asking that to respondents. But I think the friction is definitely affecting both candidates. Tinanong kanina ni Ed about how this compares historically. I do remember na the former President Duterte enjoyed very high trust and performance numbers into his 5th year.
Yeah.
So normally the people give the officials a chance to perform naman. So first 3 years mas mabait sila magbigay ng numbers in terms of trust and performance, at least based on my recollection. I think the grading now, kumbaga, if you think of it as grading, it's a bit more, let's say, less favorable. Possibly because of yung mga challenges natin that we're seeing, economic challenges, other challenges, international relationships. And this is affecting our top government officials. And that's unfortunate.
Okay. Prof, did Octa look into the numbers or the performance or trust ratings of, let's say, former President Duterte in this same survey period?
I'm sorry, sir. Can you repeat the question? I got part of it, pero
Did Octa also look into the trust, performance, or I wonder what kind of survey was done on former President Rodrigo Duterte during this same survey period? Because I'm wondering kung sabay-sabay din silang medyo tinatamaan dahil dito sa away.
We don't ask about former PRD's numbers right now. We usually probe yung top government officials kasama dyan si Senate President. Unfortunately, I heard na nagpalit na yung Senate President yesterday. So I think next time we'll have a different person there. Si Senator Chief na yung isasama namin the next time. Normally, we don't ask that. I will check if we have data on that, pero I haven't seen anything like that. Or maybe I can talk about
maybe
it.
There's something we can
really
glean from a senatorial survey done within the same survey period. Pwede ba yun? I-compare o i-benchmark on that?
Yeah, that's possible kasi when we ask yung senatorial preferences, former President Rodrigo Duterte used to enjoy higher senatorial preference numbers. So if we're going by that, nag-decrease na yung senatorial preference niya. So that could be one factor. But not definitely conclusive about his popularity. We did ask a while ago yung who they are more allied with. I think 31% said they are allied with the Marcos administration, 20% are allied with Duterte. So that's a question that I don't know if we'll ask that again sa second quarter survey.
Professor, still related to Rodrigo Duterte. At this point, it's not part of your survey, pero ikaw, in your opinion, at this point, ano ang tingin yung impact niya on his daughter? Kasi nakikipag-away siya ngayon, marami siyang ginagawa ngayon na medyo definitely anti-Marcos. You think negative siya or positive ang effect niya sa performance and approval ratings of his daughter?
Without measuring that directly,
Yes.
I think it may be negatively affecting his daughter's numbers because the fact na her numbers are decreasing, especially over the past, I think, 2 or 3 survey periods, na nagsimula na yung tensions between between the Marcos and the Duterte.
Yes.
And and people can see that, and I think I don't think that's helping her. I mean, to say the least.
Prof.
So,
David,
you
baka
think
naman...
it's a factor doon sa pagbaba niya? Kasi tuloy-tuloy yung pagbaba niya eh. Yung survey ratings ni Sara Duterte. You think may impact yun? Na ganyang nakikipag-away ngayon yung tatay niya and her brothers with the administration? Is that a factor in the slide, you think?
Yeah, it's hard to say, but I think it's possibly a factor.
Prof,
Yes,
ito
yes.
pang ilang survey nyo ba ito in the past 2 years na ganito yung framework? Pang ilan ito?
You mean nag-decrease yung nila? This is we've been conducting quarterly surveys over the past 2 years, and I remember 2 or 3 surveys ago, they were still enjoying high trust and performance. Nasa 70s pa. In fact, I think nasa last survey period, nasa 70s pa yung numbers nila. And now nasa 60s na. So there's a concern about their yung popular, or the trust and performance. It's possible nga, sabi nga ni Abby, I hope they don't go down to the 50s for their sake. But it's difficult to make projections. But right now, all I can say is we will see. And yung question kung ganito yung nakikita namin before, I can't really say na ganito kalaki yung decrease. This is the first time we've seen a decrease into the 60s.
Yun yung doon related yung tanong ko kanina, Professor. Based sa inyong quarterly survey, ito ba yung first time na mas malaki yung binaba ni Vice President kesa sa binababa ni President Bongbong? Based
I
sa
think,
inyo.
from my recollection, yes. From my recollection, I think it's the first time. So I will double check that, but based on my recollection, I think it is.
Okay, Prof. David, I wonder if Okta has any new match-up surveys like what nabanggit ni Professor Ranjit Rai.
Yeah.
You did match-up surveys previously, between Sara Duterte and Raffy Tulfo. I wonder if there's a new one that Okta has undertaken.
Tulfo, Speaker Martin.
Meron ba, Prof?
I can't comment on that. I can't comment on that kasi I go with released results. So normally we have results that are released, may iba hindi na released.
Right.
So I can't talk about results that have not been released, but maybe kung makausap niya si Prof. Ranjit, maybe
Siya
he
na
will
lang.
be more willing to talk about that. Siya na lang. Or kung
Siya na
ma-release na namin yan, then I can talk about it. more
Oh,
freely.
si Professor Ranjit yata, lagi napapagalitan eh.
Hindi, very good. Very
Ay,
good.
sino mga galit? Eh, sila boss dyan di ba? Oh, yun. Pero Okta does those surveys, those match-up surveys, Professor David. They do those match-up surveys, which I understand are commissioned.
I'm sorry. Yung matchup surveys.
They are done by Okta, and they are commissioned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't comment on that as well,
Yeah.
no, because we don't release that. I think si Prof. Ranjit will be the best one to ask about
Si
that.
Prof. Ranjit.
Kahit wag niyo na sabihin anong resulta, Prof. Anyway, kayo abala dyan. I think I understand you crunch the numbers. So, meron mga bago match-up surveys pa.
I can't.
Ayaw talaga.
We can't comment.
Ayaw pa.
Si Ranjit talaga
ayaw pa rin.
tanongin.
Sige, okay. Diyan, yung
Yes,
producer
yes.
natin, si Professor Ranjit Ray naman bukas. Yan.
Yes, i-juicer niya si Prof. Ranjit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, sir. We'll get back to you na. Maraming salamat.
Baka wala namang commission ulit eh.
Okta Research Fellow Dr. Guido David. Sir, maraming salamat for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Professor.
everyone. Have a good afternoon.
Salamat po.
Yes,
Thank
you, Prof.
Uwi.
So, yung laging fall guy, si Professor Ranjit.
Eh, siya naman
Ronald,
ata
binanggit siya ni
pinaka-boss
Ranjit
dyan
Raya.
Kaya kaya niyang i-spill.
Oh,
di
dahil
ba?
nung diniin natin
Spill.
mga 30 seconds eh. Sabi niya, tatanungin ko yung board ko. 30 seconds, natanong na niya kagad eh.
Sarili na ata.
Ronald,
May kisip lang siya ng sandali.
Binilang
Ronald, yung
30
question mo,
seconds.
sinabi na ni Ranjit kahapon, it's the first time na mas malaki yung binagsak ng numbers ni VP Sara.
Yes.
First time sa kanila, sa Okta. Kasama yun dun sa press statement nila of the survey.
So if we're gonna do some conjecture dito, Ronald, tinatamaan sila doon, malaki ang tama sa mga Duterte ng infighting. Pati
Yes.
ng anak. Sana.
At delikado yan, kung the next 1 or 2 surveys magpatuloy yung pagbaba, it could be a trend.
Yes.
It could be a trend. Pero yung mahalaga yung matchup, para makita, sino ba nakikinabang? Doon sa...
The last results we were told was that one-on-one yan di ba? Lamang na yung
lamang na yung tiga TV5.
Pero yun, parang gano'n.
Di ba posible rin
Lamang
na may epekto yung West Philippine Sea issue?
Saan?
Doon sa survey numbers ng mga Dutertes.
Well, kung titingnan natin,
Especially
pwede
na
rin, pwede
binubugbog sila doon sa...
pero makikita lang natin yan doon sa talagang laman ng survey.
Yeah.
Na sa ngayon, wala tayo. Pero,
And they don't ask that. I mean, Professor David made it plain that they don't ask why.
not yet.
Oo.
No, alimawa, yung kay Juan kasi, yung kay Juni Lailo, makapal yun 300, 400 pages. Usually, lahat ng issues kasama. Kaya nakikita mo, nadideconstruct mo. Pero,
This is the famous Lilo surveys.
yes,
diba?
yes.
Na,
Pero,
wala na ngayon.
ambassador na eh. Pero yung batay sa tanong ni Ed, no, ay medyo unti-unti kasi nagiging emotional issue yung West Philippine Sea.
Oh, tsaka may balita ng agreement here, agreement
Yes,
there.
kaya pag nagiging emotional, nagiging election issue. Pag cognitive kasi, hindi masyadong election issue. Pag sikmura tsaka puso, nagiging election issue. Kaya posible na maging election issue siya in 1 year's time. Dahil nagiging
Pero
emotional
Ronald,
siya.
nadidikit ba siya kay VP Sara? Parang hindi eh.
Well,
Nadidikit yung issue kay VP Sara, although kay...
nadidikit sa
Former
Duterte.
President Duterte,
Nadidikit sa Duterte brand. Eh, ang apelyido ni
Pero
Sara, Duterte pa rin.
dumidistansya siya, di ba? Dumidistansya si
Well,
VP
yung
Sara
no
dyan sa
comment
issue
niya
na yan.
is a position. Remember that
Oh, tsaka yung...
no
Yeah.
comment position is a position.
Saka sa social media, makikita mo yung kanyang solidarity statement in Mandarin. In Mandarin, nagsasalita siya eh. Several yun eh.